Now let us discuss the thermodynamic analysis of the Brayton cycle. So first of all, we know that there are four processes in the Brayton cycle. Process 1 to 2 is the reversible adiabatic compression. 2 to 3 is constant pressure heat addition. 3 to 4 is reversible adiabatic expansion, and 4 to 1 is constant pressure heat rejection. There are four processes. Now first of all, let us draw the PV and TS diagram for the Brayton cycle. We know that in the PV diagram and in the TS diagram, these cycles are in the clockwise direction because they are the work producing cycle. So suppose first of all, let us draw the PV diagram. This is the process 1 to 2, right? Process 1 to 2 is adiabatic compression. This is process 1 to 2 adiabatic compression. 2 to 3 is constant pressure heat rejection. This is a constant pressure heat addition, sorry. 3 to 4 reversible adiabatic expansion, and 4 to 1 is constant pressure heat rejection. So let us say this corresponding to this, here we have pressure P1 and this is pressure P2. This is pressure P2. So in this process P1 is constant 1 to 4 or 4 to 1, and in this process P2 is constant. P2 is constant, right? And this is reversible adiabatic expansion, this is adiabatic compression. So these are the four processes. In the TS diagram, if you draw, this is process 1 to 2 reversible adiabatic, then it is isentropic process, so entropy will be constant, so it is a vertical line. So 1 to 2 is the adiabatic compression, 2 to 3 constant pressure heat addition, 3 to 4 adiabatic expansion, and 4 to 1 constant pressure heat rejection. So I will say that in this process, suppose here we have P2 is constant, and in this process we have P1 is constant, right? And you know that in this process 2 to 3 some heat is added, some heat is supplied to the system, let us say QS. This will give some work output, let us say WT. Here some heat is rejected to the surrounding, let us say QR, and the compressor will take some work, let us say this is WC. WC, work consumed by the compressor, WC. So these are the four processes. This is the PV and TS diagram for the thermodynamic analysis of the Brayton cycle, right? In this, there is no, all these things are in the superheated state, right? Oh, the gas means it is a gas power cycle, right? So in all these four processes, the working fluid will remain in the gaseous phase, and that means there is no vapor dome here because there is no use. Vapor dome will be somewhere here, right? Vapor dome will be somewhere there, and the gases will be in the superheated state. So we only draw the process. The vapor dome is there, but it is far away from this graph, right? So this is the PV diagram and TS diagram. Now we have to find what is the value of this compressor work, heat supply, turbine work, and heat rejection. We have to find these values. So let us start from one by one. Let us start from process 1 to 2, then process 2 to 3, then 3 to 4, then 4 to 1, right? Let us start from the process 1 to 2. You just pay attention. These things are very important because in these derivation only the students will do mistake where they have to use different types of formulas, right? So first of all, let us talk about process 1 to 2. You just pay attention. Process 1 to 2. Let us talk about process 1 to 2. For this process 1 to 2, if I apply, because this is a compressor is a open device, right? Open process, open system, you can say. We are applying steady flow energy equation between point 1 and 2. Between point 1 and 2, we are applying steady flow energy equation, right? What is the steady flow energy equation? If you remember, what is the steady flow energy equation? This is H1 plus V1 square by 2. This is velocity. I write velocity by like this. If I write V, this is volume. If I write this V bar, this is velocity, right? So that there should not be any confusion, right? During my complete course of the mechanical engineering, I am writing velocity like this and volume like this, right? So that you will not be confused. V1 square by 2 plus GZ1 plus heat added to the system. This is heat added to the system. Let us say this is heat added to the process 1 to 2 is equal to H2 plus V2 square by 2 plus GZ2 plus work done by the control volume. Plus work done by the control volume. This is the generalized equation, generalized steady flow energy equation. Now, you just pay attention now. If I am talking about the process 1 to 2, if I am talking about the process 1 to 2, if I use the assumptions, these assumptions are more important, guys. These assumptions are very, very important to write any equations, right? First assumption is we are taking this as an adiabatic process. We are taking it as an adiabatic process, right? That means your heat transfer in the process 1 to 2 is 0. Heat transfer in the process 1 to 2 is 0. Second assumption, I am assuming that during this process of compression, the changes in kinetic energy and changes in potential energy is 0. They are neglected. Changes in kinetic energy and changes in potential energy are 0. So we can say that V1 square by 2 minus V2 square by 2 is 0 and GZ1 minus GZ2 is 0. Right? We are assuming this. Right? So, and this is a compressor, then work is done on the system, so this will be negative, right? So from here you can write, simply you can write as, just pay attention, simply you can write that work consumed by the compressor, work required by the compressor, this is minus sign, this will be equal to H2 minus H1. Work required by the compressor will be equal to H2 minus H1, right? Just pay attention. H2 minus H1. When you can write this equation, that work consumed by the compressor is H2 minus H1, when you can write when the process is adiabatic and changes in kinetic energy and changes in potential energy are 0. If it is given in the question that the changes in kinetic energy is not equal to 0, it may be given in the question, right? It may be given in the question, the velocities at the point 1 and velocity at the point 2 can be given in the question to check your concept, right? They may give the velocity values, right? Then that means the changes in kinetic energy and potential energy is not 0. So in that case, in this case, you have to write that work required or consumed by the compressor will be your H2 plus V2 square by 2. You have to consider the velocity factor, kinetic energy factor, minus H1 plus V1 square by 2, right? If the changes in kinetic energy is not equal to 0, if the velocity terms are given in the question, then you cannot neglect it. You have to use this formula. Right? If velocity values are not given, you can directly write H2 minus H1. Right? Now, just pay attention. If I am saying this work, if changes in kinetic energy and changes in potential energy are 0, then work consumed by the compressor is H2 minus H1. Right? Now you know this, that this is changes in enthalpy, right? This will be equal to Cp into T2 minus T1. Cp into T2 minus T1. You can write like this. Why? Because you know this condition that dH can be written as Cp dt. dH can be written as Cp dt in two cases. First case, if it is an ideal gas, for ideal gas, for any process, you can write dH is equal to Cp dt. for constant pressure process for any substance, you can write dH is equal to Cp dt. This condition, we again and again I am using this. You have to remember this term, that when you can use dH is equal to Cp dt and when you can use du is equal to Cv dt, right? dH is equal to Cp dt can be used in these two conditions. If ideal gas is there, then for any process, whether it will be adiabatic, it will be constant volume, it will be constant pressure, for any process you can use dH is equal to Cp dt. But if the process is constant pressure, then for any substance, whether it will be ideal gas or real gas, then for any substance you can write dH is equal to Cp dt, right? So this you have to remember. Then we can write work required by the compressor will be Cp into T2 minus T1. Because why? When you can write, just pay attention. This is important. These concepts are important. These concepts will lead you to the rank, right? Now I am writing some things which will be required by you. Work required by compressor can be written as Cp into T2 minus T1. This is a compressor process. When you can write, this is not a constant pressure process, so this will be eliminated. When you can write this can be written only when the assumptions of writing this equation is, first assumption is adiabatic, second assumption is changes in kinetic energy is 0 and changes in potential energy 0. This is the second assumption. And third assumption is it should be an ideal gas. If the working fluid which is flowing in this cycle is not an ideal gas, you cannot write this equation. If the working fluid is not ideal gas, if the working fluid is not an ideal gas, this is important, right? They may confuse you, right? If the working fluid is not an ideal gas, then you have to write work required by the compressor is H2 minus H1. You cannot write this will be equal to Cp into T2 minus T1. This Cp in the terms of temperature, Cp dt only for the ideal gas you can use, otherwise you have to go with the basic, that is H2 minus H1 or H2 plus V2 square by 2 minus H1 plus V1 square by 2. This complete is known as stagnation enthalpy. The H1 plus V1 square by 2 is known as stagnation enthalpy. We will discuss this in the compressible flow, right? These stagnation terms are the terms of the compressible flow. So this is H2 minus H1 if it is not an ideal gas. So these are the conditions to use different types of formula. So this is the work required by the compressor. Now let us talk about process 2 to 3. Process 2 to 3 is constant pressure heat addition. This is constant pressure heat addition. If I apply steady flow energy equation between point 2 and 3, I can write H2 plus V2 square by 2 plus GZ2 plus heat supplied to the system in the process 2 to 3, heat supplied to the system process 2 to 3 is equal to H3 plus V3 square by 2 plus GZ3 plus work done by the control volume. This is a generalized equation. Now what will be the assumptions? if I write assumptions, we have to take some assumptions. If we are assuming that, the first assumption is, if we are assuming that during this heat addition process, changes in kinetic energy and potential energy are zero. This is the first assumption I am assuming. And second assumption is that this is only a heat exchanger. This device is only a heat exchanger. So work done by the control volume will be zero. Work done by the control volume will be zero. Now this is the heat supply to the system. Heat given to the system is positive. So from here, if this V2 square by 2 minus V3 square by 2 is 0, GZ2 minus GZ3 is 0, WCV is 0. So you can write heat supply to the system, that is Q23, that is equal to heat supply to the system, that will be equal to H3 minus H2. That will be equal to H3 minus H2. H3 minus H2, right? And if velocity values are given, then you have to consider this V2 square by 2 and V3 square by 2 also. Now just pay attention, the heat supply will be equal to H3 minus H2, and I can write this equal to Cp into T3 minus T2 when to write dH is equal to Cp dt, we have these two conditions, right? This process is a constant pressure process. This process is a constant pressure process. So for any substance, whether in this cycle we have ideal gas or real gas or anything, you can always write dH is equal to Cp dt. You can always write dH is equal to Cp dt. This is the important concepts, right? This equation can be written, heat supply in terms of temperature difference can be written for any substance. It need not to be an ideal gas, because it is a constant pressure process, and we know that for the constant pressure process we can write this for any substance. But here this equation you can only write if it is an ideal gas. Work required by the compressor is written in the terms of Cp dt only for the ideal gas, but heat supply will be equal to Cp dt for any substance. You can write this equation for any substance, need not to be ideal gas, right? Now let us discuss about the process 3 to 4. For the process 3 to 4, right, we already studied for the process 1 to 2 what is the work required by the compressor. For the process 2 to 3, what is the heat supply to the system. Now let us talk about process 3 to 4, and if I apply steady flow energy equation between point 3 and 4. Steady flow energy equation between point 3 and 4. What is the steady flow energy equation? If I write here, it will be between 3 and 4. It will be H3 plus V3 square by 2 plus GZ3 plus heat supply in the process 3 to 4 is equal to H2 plus H4 plus V4 square by 2 plus GZ4 plus work done by the control volume, right? Now let us see what are the assumptions. Assumptions are important. What are the assumptions? First assumption is similar to that of compressor. First assumption is adiabatic process. First assumption is adiabatic process. That means heat transfer in process 3 to 4 is 0. Second assumption I am taking, that changes in kinetic energy and changes in potential energy is 0. That is V3 square by 2 minus V4 square by 2 is 0, and GZ3 minus GZ4 is 0. And Q34 is 0 because adiabatic process, work done by the control volume is work done by the system, by the turbine, that is WT. So from here you can write WT will be equal to H3 minus H4. W3 will be equal to H3 minus H4. When you can write this? When these two assumptions are there. Now if changes in kinetic energy is not equal to 0, if the velocity values at 0.3 and 0.4 is given, then you have to write work done by the turbine will be equal to H3 plus V3 square by 2 minus of H4 plus V4 square by 2. You have to write this equation if velocity values are given in the question, right? This formula is written when velocity values are given at 0.3 and 0.4. Right. Now, if I take this equation, that work done by the turbine will be equal to H3 minus H4, and I can write this will be equal to, in terms of temperature, Cp into T3 minus T4. Cp into T3 minus T4, right? But when you can write dH is equal to Cp dt for constant pressure process, any substance, but this process is not a constant pressure process. So you can write this equation only when ideal gas is there. Only when ideal gas is there, then you can write work done by the turbine is Cp into T3 minus T4. If ideal gas is not there, you have to write H3 minus H4, right? Wt will be equal to H3 minus H4. You have to write this, right? For any substance. For any substance you can write this. But if you want to write this in terms of temperature, like that is Cp into T3 minus T4, that can be written only when the gas which is flowing in this cycle is an ideal gas. Otherwise you cannot write this equation. That is Cp into T3 minus T4. Remember this. Similar to the compressor, right? In the compressor, work required by the compressor is Cp into T2 minus T1. That you can write only when the gas is an ideal gas. Otherwise you have to write H2 minus H1. Similarly, we can solve for the process 421. Process 421, right? I am explaining all of these things so that you will not make any mistake, right? If some trick is there, if they will confuse with the data given in the question, and if you remember only these values, you will do the mistake. And power plant is not a subject where you lose a mark, right? This is a scoring part. This can improve your rank, right? Power plant is not a subject that where you can afford a mistake. These like power plant, heat transfer, IC engine, they are the scoring subject, right? You have to score 100% in this. So that's why I'm explaining each and every point, so that you will not do any mistake in the question. Now if I apply steady flow energy equation, between 1 and 4. If I apply steady flow energy equation between 1 and 4, I can write 4 to 1, okay, H4 plus V4 square by 2 plus GZ1 plus heat given to the system in the process 4 to 1 is equal to H1 plus V1 square by 2 plus GZ1 plus work done by the control volume. Right? What are the assumptions? In thermal engineering, these assumptions are the most important thing. If you forget any one assumption, definitely you will do a mistake in the question, right? First assumption is changes in kinetic energy and changes in potential energy is 0. This is my first assumption, that changes in kinetic energy and changes in potential energy is 0. Second assumption is that work done in the process 4 to 1 is 0, because this is an heat exchanger. Only we need heat to be transferred, so that the work transfer will be 0. Right? So from here, and heat rejected by the system is negative, so that will go this side. So you can write directly, I am writing, right? So because heat, this is Q41 is heat rejected to the system. So this will be equal to, from there you can write that heat rejected by the system will be equal to H4 minus H1. This is negative, that go this side, so H4 minus H1. And you can write this when Cp is equal to T4 minus T1, right? dH is equal to Cp dt you can write for constant pressure process. This is a constant pressure process, so you can write this for any substance, whether it will be an ideal gas or a real gas, you can write this equation for any substance. So these are the 4 points which we want to discuss, right? What is the work required by the compressor, work done by the turbine, heat supply and heat rejected, right? So if I summarize all these points here, if I summarize, right, so these are the thing, let us summarize here. This summary is more important, just pay attention. If I summarize all these points which I just told you, work required by the compressor will be equal to H2 minus H1. This is for any substance. Changes in kinetic energy 0, changes in potential energy 0. Adiabatic process, right? This can be equal to Cp into T2 minus T1 for an ideal gas, only for an ideal gas. If velocity values are given, then it can be written as H2 plus V2 square by 2 minus H1 plus V1 square by 2. This you can write when changes in kinetic energy is not equal to 0. Here changes in kinetic energy 0, changes in potential energy is also 0, right? These are the 3 formulas for 3 different types of conditions. Heat supply to the system can be written as H3 minus H2. This can be written as Cp into T3 minus T2. Assumption for this is any substance, because this is a constant pressure process, any substance, and when changes in kinetic energy 0, changes in potential energy 0. This you can write for these 3 conditions, for these 2 conditions, right? For any substance you can write, but here you can write for only for ideal gas. Work required by the turbine, work produced by the turbine will be written as H3 minus H4. This you can write for any substance, whether it will be an ideal gas or not, you can write this for any substance. Assumption is changes in kinetic energy 0, changes in potential energy 0, no velocity value given, and adiabatic obviously. This can be written as Cp into T3 minus T4. T3 minus T4. This can be written only for an ideal gas. If the gas is ideal, then only you can write like this. And also changes in kinetic energy 0, changes in potential energy 0. And if velocity values are given, so you have to consider H3 plus V3 square by 2 minus H4 plus V4 square by 2 when changes in kinetic energy is not equal to 0. You have to consider this. Similarly, heat rejected will be equal to H4 minus H1, and this can be written as Cp into T4 minus T1. You can write this for any substance, whether for an ideal gas or not, because constant pressure process, changes in kinetic energy 0, changes in potential energy 0. These 4 work done by the compressor, heat supply, work required by the compressor, work done by the turbine, heat rejected. These conditions you must know so that you will not make any mistake in the question, right? These conditions you must remember. These are the derivations, these are the assumptions you must remember. Now as we already see that what will be the work required by the compressor, what is the heat added to the system, what is the work done by the turbine, and what is the heat rejected by the intercooler, or you can say your condenser. Now let us discuss that what will be the net work produced by the cycle. The net work produced by the cycle is work produced by the turbine minus work required by the compressor. This is the net work done, and this can be written as, this will be equal to, what is the work produced by the turbine is H3 minus H4, right? H3 minus H4 minus work required by the compressor is H2 minus H1. H2 minus H1, right? This is the work required by the compressor. So these formulas we are writing while neglecting the changes in kinetic energy and potential energy during the process. So this can be written as, this will be equal to, you can write this as H3 minus H2 minus of H1 minus H4, or H4 minus H1. H4 minus H1, right? This can be written like this. So what is this H3 minus H2? This is the heat supplied to the system, and H4 minus H1 is heat rejected by the system. So you can write the net work produced by the cycle will be equal to heat supplied to the system minus heat rejected by the system, or by the cycle, you can say, right? This is the net work produced by the cycle. Now what is the efficiency of the Brayton cycle? If I write the efficiency of the Brayton cycle is, efficiency of the Brayton cycle can be written as the net work produced by the cycle divided by heat input, that is heat supply. This is the net work, this is the efficiency of the Brayton cycle. So this can be written as, the net work can be written as heat supply minus heat rejected upon heat supply. So from here you can write the efficiency of the Brayton cycle. The efficiency of the Brayton cycle will be equal to 1 minus heat rejected upon heat supply. Efficiency of the Brayton cycle can be written as 1 minus heat rejected upon heat supply, right? Now if you remember, then the efficiency will be equal to 1 minus heat rejected is how much? Cp into T4 minus T1 divided by Cp into, what is the heat supply? T3 minus T2. Heat supply is T3 minus T2, right? This formula, when you can write this formula for any substance, right? Because this is a formula of heat rejected and heat supply. So this formula of efficiency in terms of temperatures, this formula of efficiency can be written for any substance. This is important. This can be written for any substance. Don't feel like that this formula we can write for only for ideal gas. This is not the condition, because heat rejected will be equal to Cp into T4 minus T1 and heat supply will be equal to Cp into T3 minus T2. This formula can be written for any substance because these are the constant pressure heat transfer process, right? So this can be not for only ideal gas, this can be written for any substance, right? Just note it down. Now efficiency will be equal to 1 minus Cp will cancelled out. If I take T1 common from here, this will be T1 into T4 by T1 minus 1 divided by, if I take T2 common, then T2 into, this will be T3 by T2 minus 1, right? This will be the formula if I take T1 and T2 common from the numerator and denominator. Now if I write from the process 1 to 2, for the process 1 to 2, which is an adiabatic compression, I can write T2 by T1 will be equal to P2 by P1 raised to power gamma of compression minus 1 divided by gamma of compression, right? it may be the case that in the question gamma of compression and gamma for the expansion process are different. So I'll write gamma C is the adiabatic index for the compression process and gamma E is the adiabatic index for the expansion process. So this is for the process 1 to 2, and similarly we can write for the process 3 to 4. For the process 3 to 4 I can write T3 by T4 will be equal to P3 by P4 raised to power gamma of expansion is gamma E minus 1 divided by gamma E, and this can be written as P3 is equal to P2 constant pressure process and P1 is equal to P4, so P2 by P1 raised to power gamma E minus 1 upon gamma E, right? And if in the question it is given that gamma for the compression and gamma for the expansion are same, if gamma C will be equal to gamma E and this will be equal to gamma, let us say if these two are equal, then this right hand side is equal, then you can write from here that T2 by T1 will be equal to T3 by T4. T2 by T1 will be equal to T3 by T4, or you can write from here that T4 by T1 will be equal to T3 by T2. T4 by T1 will be equal to T3 by T2. You have to remember this, that for the Brayton cycle you can write or T2 by T1 is equal to T3 by T4, or you can write T4 by T1 will be equal to T3 by T2. This relation you just remember if gamma for compression and gamma for expansion are same, right? If I subtract minus 1 from both sides, so this will be equal, right? So this T4 by T1 minus 1 and T3 by T2 minus 1, they are same and they will cancelled out, right? They will cancelled out, so you will get from here, you will get that efficiency of the Brayton cycle will be equal to 1 minus T1 by T2. 1 minus T1 by T2. Efficiency of the Brayton cycle is 1 minus T1 by T2. Now what are the assumption of writing this equation? Or from here you can write that efficiency will be equal to 1 minus T1 by T2 is, you can write T1 by T2 is P1 by P2 raised to power gamma minus 1 upon gamma, right? Because both the gammas are same, so you can write like this. We are defining that P2 by P1, the increase in pressure in the process 1 is known as pressure ratio. This is known as pressure ratio, and I will denote this with the letter RP, pressure ratio. P2 by P1 is pressure ratio. How much pressure is increased during the compression is pressure ratio. So the efficiency of the Brayton cycle can be written as, efficiency of the Brayton cycle can be written as 1 minus 1 upon pressure ratio raised to power gamma minus 1 upon gamma. 1 minus 1 upon pressure ratio raised to power gamma minus 1 upon gamma. Now what are the assumption of writing this efficiency? Just note it down. What are the assumptions which we take while solving this Brayton cycle efficiency? The assumption is, first assumption is changes in kinetic energy 0, changes in potential energy 0. Second assumption we take that gamma for compression will be equal to gamma for expansion will be equal to gamma. This assumption we take, right? So these are the two assumptions, and for any substance this can be valid for any substance, because we are not taking any that ideal gas is there, we are not taking any condition of ideal gas, so that can be applicable for any substance. But this must be valid, gamma C will be equal to gamma E, and that is equal to gamma. Then only you can write efficiency of the Brayton cycle like this. If the gammas are different, then you have to solve from here, right? You have to solve from this equation further. You cannot write this efficiency of the Brayton cycle like this, 1 minus 1 upon Rp raised to power gamma minus 1 upon gamma, right? So from here, if you see, from this equation, if you see, if the pressure ratio is increased, if you increase the pressure ratio, If this is increased, this complete value will decrease, efficiency will increase. Or we can say if gamma is also increased, if you increase the gamma also, then efficiency will increase, right? So efficiency will increase if you increase the pressure ratio, or you can increase the adiabatic index, that is gamma. So if you increase, then efficiency will increase. Suppose let us make a graph of efficiency versus pressure ratio, right? Efficiency versus pressure ratio. Let us say this is pressure ratio and this coordinate is efficiency of the Brayton cycle, right? When gamma will be equal to 1, suppose gamma is 1, right? Gamma is 1, then this complete value will be 1, this complete value will be 1, right? Then efficiency of the Brayton cycle will be 0, right? So let us say this is the point where gamma value is, where gamma is equal to 1, right? Or you can say that when pressure ratio will be equal to 1, when this value is 1, pressure ratio is 1, then Brayton cycle efficiency is 0. So this is the point where Rp value is equal to 1. This is the point where Rp value is equal to 1. So from here, if you increase the pressure ratio, the efficiency will increase. If you increase the pressure ratio, efficiency will increase. Suppose this is corresponds to, let us say gamma is equal to 1.4. Let us say gamma is equal to 1.4. Now if you increase the gamma, let us say for gamma 1.6, then efficiency will increase. Let us say this is for gamma 1.66, let us say, right? So if you increase the either gamma or the pressure ratio, your efficiency of the Brayton cycle will increase, right? So this is the thermodynamic analysis of the Brayton cycle. You just remember all the assumptions, all the formulas, where you have to apply, which formula you need to know, so that you will not do any mistake while solving the questions.